Live from the podcast rooms in Glasgow, it's All About the Gers with Ricki, Neill, Derek Ferguson and Charlie Miller.
Hello and welcome to All About the Gers with myself, Ricki, Neill, Derek Ferguson and Charlie Miller. What do you think of your new theme tune there?
That was nice, wasn't it?
We Rangers fans, they're called the Wranglins.
Is it? Right.
Aye, so
Okay, I'll need to Google them and look out for them.
well, that track's not actually out yet, so it's out
Right.
on the 19th of August, but they kindly gave me
There you
a
go.
sneak preview, so that's alright, isn't it?
Different
Class.
class.
Maybe dance under the
Magic.
table
Aye.
That's it again. How
So,
about you?
I'm good, I'm really good actually. I was in Lounge 72 on Saturday doing the karaoke.
Aye, I was there Friday.
Oh,
Was it
no.
Friday, Thursday?
In and out, everybody was like, was that
Aye.
Derek Ferguson?
Aye, because you said to us, get there for 3:30, Charlie. So I get there 3:30.
Is that Friday though?
Nobody's
Friday.
Friday, sorry. Nobody's there. So, you know what? I'm the one for hanging about. I'm just
Yeah,
in and out.
He went in one door and went out the other. But
Shock.
they were doing a wee...
Because they literally that's me going.
I didn't.
The camp all day and I'd coaching at night, so
Aye.
I think they raised over £1,200 for Danny,
Brilliant.
the goalie's son, you know. So
No, that's why I turned up.
Yeah.
You know, I had something else that I was to go to, but I thought I'll get there 3:30. But we just weren't there, and I had to obviously go and get the missus at 4. So apologies to Leachy and some of the other guys, but when you say 3:30,
I know they're useless by the way. See
how
at
long
times.
were you going to stay there for then? If you had to
Half
get your missus at 4 o'clock?
well, she's only up in Bells Hill, so it's only 5 minutes away. So I'm
Charlie,
going
you've seen how fast it takes him to get drunk anyway, don't you?
Oh well, one
a half
pint.
hour, that'd be
Take
him.
one pint.
2 cans, 2 pints.
I'm only kidding you on. Anyway, we'll go straight into football. Thoughts
I think I
about
needed a drink last Tuesday. Anyway,
Oh, 100%,
watching it,
man.
that was a tough watch.
what went wrong?
Oof, well, there's loads of things you could look at. Our attitude, our mentality, in terms of maybe thinking, you know, because of who we were up against, it was going to be probably an easy night's work. And for the first 10-15 minutes, we settled into the game pretty well. But from then on, and I'm talking about that attitude and that mentality, I thought they started to outwork us. They were physical as well. They get in about us a wee bit, tried to ruffle a few feathers, and a wee bit. You look at the players as well that we had on the park. Good players. If you look at their 11 against their 11, we've got better players. So the players didn't perform. I think even the manager as well, tactically, and he's been excellent. You know, we go back to last season in Europe. But I think we should have changed things. We should have shook it up a wee bit at half time because it wasn't working. The 3 or the 5 at the back, you know, with Tav and Barisic, you know, playing as a wing backs. I didn't think it worked. So it was just one of the nights, you know, and you can talk about the decision as well. You know, it was never a penalty, Charlie, never in a month of Sundays.
The worst decision
It was. It's like it was kind of. It felt what was sitting there that the VAR, you know, was trying to find a way that was going to be a penalty.
That was ridiculous.
Aye, but even when the referee, Charlie, goes over, you know, and sees the monitor, you know, it's clear to see that it was never a penalty.
It's even worse. It books goals.
Aye,
It's, just it's actually incredible that when you look back at it.
But the game, we were miles off. The first 10 minutes, I thought we started well, and the boy Malik looked as if he was going to Tillman.
aye.
Looked as if he was going to be decent. Well, he started brightly, and then nothing. I think we don't press well enough. I just think we don't press as a team well enough. I really do.
Do you know what? I totally agree with you. See with Tillman, it was the same last week. I thought, see the first 15-20 minutes, I was like, wow, this guy's so direct, you know, and he's promising, you know. But it was the same against Killie at the weekend as well. I thought the first 15-20 minutes he was good, but then he just kind of died and disappeared.
At the game last week. To be fair, they were physical, but the referee was poor. But that wasn't the reason we lost the game. The game was because we were very poor. Obviously, McLaughlin made a bit of a mistake a big mistake for the goal. I think the first one, although he did have a few good saves later on. And then obviously the penalty was just ridiculous, but we didn't play well enough. We didn't deserve anything out of the game. At 1-0, I'm thinking if we get away with this, we'll be happy. And then as the referee comes out with a crazy decision, VAR just I just can't get how VAR even said to him to come here.
The thing is, there's another 4 referees watching that as well, isn't there?
Oh, it's embarrassing.
Aye.
No,
I think when the referee, surely when he looks at it himself, because initially he doesn't even think that's a penalty. He doesn't think it's a penalty, but then the VAR's in his ear. He goes over, has a look, and why he comes to that conclusion, I don't know. But do you know something? It could have been worse on the night. You know, their fellas through 1v1. You know, we could have lost that game 3 or 4, and we could have been out of this. this time.
I still think we can win the game. I said last week we'd win 2-1. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case. And then I said 4-0 against Kilmarnock. We need to get our shooting boots on for the morning night, definitely. I think we could take 5 off and get an early goal. I really do. But
I was a wee bit more reserved last week, if you can remember, Charlie, because I just looked at their background, where they've came from, and I just thought they'll be a hungry side. And, you know, and looking at how well we done last season, we were a target for them. You know, and you could see, you know, the way they celebrated. So we've got our own patch tomorrow night.
But they did rest 8 of their players for weekend's game, didn't they?
They could beat 3-0.
I said 8 of their players arrested.
Was it? Right.
Do you know what I mean? When you go on social media, you see a lot of the kind of Rangers fans. They'd actually just thought that was going to be a walk in the park, you know.
No, and that's why I was
straight through to the next game.
That's why I was quite reserved, because I'd looked at their pre-season games. They hadn't lost a game. They'd beat some good teams. Started the league pretty well. So that's why I was a wee bit reserved in saying, like, we can go over there and we definitely win. I just wanted to get a decent result, and I did say, I think even a draw, I'd be quite happy, and then get them back to Ibrox. But
2-0 ended up a decent result.
Aye. So we've got a bit of work today, you know, and it's going to be a nervy old night. But I think we've got enough in my locker.
I suppose when you think, if that wasn't, I mean, it wasn't a penalty, but obviously they've still got it. But it would only been 1-0, so that would actually been quite a good result away from home.
Yeah.
So.
But then again, you look at us, you know, and how well, or the kind of heights that we've reached in Europe. I was looking certainly like, don't know getting beat. You know, I think we'd enough about us, but I just think there was a mixture of things, but also the players. I think on that part that night, because we started pretty well, I just thought well, you know, we can get through the motions. No, you've got to keep at it. You've got to work. You've got to match them for their effort, their endeavour. I mean, it got a wee bit tasty. We have a few of them trying to put one on our players, you know, give a little bit back. Well, you know, they're coming onto our patch tomorrow. So
the foreigners get away with. They get away with. I'm not just saying. I don't mean the diving. Some of the diving, it drives me crazy. See, and the referees just give a free kick because I think that's the easiest choice. Some of the decisions last week were very poor, and I don't like blaming the referee, but it was very poor for them.
And the good thing is they've been pretty vocal. I think they
have.
They you know, they have got they think they're going to come out over here, you know, with that 2-goal lead, defend it. Or I'm listening to the manager saying he's going to go out and have a go and play. Well, I hope he does, because that will certainly suit us. But
well, they didn't open up against us though. They definitely didn't open up against us last week. So I think he's lying when he said he's going to open up.
No, but see, like when another team like that can start all the disrespectful comments, it's used to his players. See, when people used to do that, does that not make you want to go out there and fucking annihilate them?
Archie and Walter used to put the bits up in the changing room.
So the newspapers,
the newspaper clips. So
I saw the motivation.
I had to get Callister to read it for me.
But that's what you want. You want. But listen, we shouldn't be motivated. You know, it's a chance to get the Champions League. We've got another hurdle to cross if we get through this tie. But you don't need motivation. But if they want to kind of enhance that, you know, and get upset you a wee bit, I just think, because I was listening to Lundstrom before I come in, Ricki, you know. He
looked very disappointed, didn't he?
Oh, not even disappointed. I think he looks like an angry man, which I quite like, you know. And his wee interview that I listened to, you know, he says, I can't wait till tomorrow night to get out there. And that's the attitude to have.
I mean, obviously players may be signed for Rangers thinking they're going to Champions League action. I was quite surprised that Ridvan and Ben Davies came on in a game and they've not even played with Rangers yet. Is that a bit strange, guys? I mean, for that level of competition to bring them on and have not played a game yet.
I think more the younger one, the left full-back.
He just turned up for training basically, didn't he?
Yeah, I think obviously Davies should be able to play at this level. Obviously, I think he's at Wales International, obviously. So
I think he plays a behind closed doors. He played one game behind closed doors, I think. Was it Queen of the South or something? Queen's Park, aye. But
you've got to get him in soon if you pay $4 million for him, especially. I heard I had a tournament this Saturday, so I didn't see much of the game. So I heard the wee Turkish fullback was a wee bit
rusty, shall we say?
A wee bit rabbit in the headlight one, I think. So he's obviously,
and it's difficult. It's hard, you know. Not just in saying the guys have not had a lot of match practice, But again, come to Rangers, you know, it comes with pressure. You've got to be able to deal with that. So we've got to give them a bit of time. But just a massive game like that last week. I don't think it was a game to kind of, you know, like kind of bring guys into that kind of a game. I think it's a game for the tried and trusted. The guys that have been there, that have done it. I'll touch on it. I can't believe that when you play a massive game in Europe that we haven't got, we're experienced boys in, like some McGregor in goals. You know, we're not saying John McLaughlin's he's a good goalkeeper, but for me, every day he beats McGregor in the middle of the park. You need the old head, Steve Davis. You know, and he didn't get a lot of minutes towards the end of last season. And he just showed on Saturday, you know, how good a player he is.
He was brilliant on Saturday.
Because he's one of the guys that you kind of looked at, I could imagine on the park with him, but he knows when to force the play or when to just kind of sit off a wee bit and keep it. And that's experience. We need somebody like that. And we'll need it tomorrow night. I hope he plays. I don't know. Obviously we'll probably chat about the team. But for me, Davis, also last week, when you get away from home and, as I says, it maybe get a wee bit tasty. I like the boy Arfield as well in there at times. I know we went with Matondo, we've went with Tillman, you know, very good players, but I'd have rather, and I'm just speaking for myself, don't know about you, Charlie, I'd have rather had somebody like an Arfield in there.
Aye.
You know, that
that's
tenacious.
Like he did last season, didn't it? Arfield used to always come in and play the one up. Obviously, Aribo was playing through the middle because obviously Morelos was injured, and then you Kent on the other side. So obviously, I keep on saying obviously. Kent hopefully back in Mora.
Obviously.
I would imagine Cholak or Colic. I think he'll start through the middle, and I think Arfield might be the one in the right.
Well, I was actually just about to say that. Ryan Kent and Sakala are both fit and included in the squad, but I'm surprised it's Sakala because we've not seen him for a while as well.
Aye, I tell you what, Kent, that's a boost.
Aye.
We need him. You know, as I said, he's a player that, you know, he enjoys the big nights, you know, and he's the one that can make that little bit of difference, you know, in terms of getting past a couple of players. And so he's a big player for us. And sometimes it's not until they're not on the side that you realise how good they are.
Aye.
You know, so.
Do you know, we spoke about the goalkeeper thing last week, and I done a wee social media poll just to see how what people were thinking, you know, and 48% were wanting McGregor to start tomorrow and 52% are McLaughlin, you know. And
I'm quite surprised at that.
I'm surprised, I know, and I think I've said it, I just love the way McGregor comes out and like shouts at his defence, you know. And I think, see, Rangers, we've always had like amazing. I'm not saying McLaughlin isn't a good keeper, right?
Oh, yes, he's a very
good keeper, but he's a different keeper to what we're used to, I think.
And we spoke about the different characters, you know, McGregor, bit fiery, McLaughlin, pretty laid back. But I'm talking about just, I mean, I touched on it last week about shot stopping, you know. Does McGregor save that? Last week takes a slight deflection. I think McGregor does save it.
I'm see, Griggs are getting a year. I'm surprised he's not starting number one. But if it didn't want to give Griggs a year, then I think you go. Or if McLaughlin's number one, I think you have to push McCrory for number one.
Yeah,
because he's been there a long time. He's supposed to be. He is a great young goalkeeper. We all know that. But I would have probably, if Griggs is not starting, you don't give him a year, then McCrory would have been probably just ahead of McLaughlin, just because his age, and you have to give him a chance sometime. Similar age to probably when Griggs started playing.
Why do you think the manager's reluctant to say that McLaughlin's the number one? You know, he's been pushed on that a couple of times, and he doesn't want to.
I mean, at the end of last season,
it looks like it, Ricki, doesn't it?
At the end of the last season, I'm sure that poll would have probably been about 90% McGregor. You know, so I'm really surprised at that. But Charlie, what's your thoughts? Why is he not saying he's my number one? That would maybe give him a bit of confidence, wouldn't it?
Well, he's obviously said it behind closed doors that he's the number one, but wait to see how he does the first few games, and then he can go, well, McGregor's back in if McLaughlin makes a couple of mistakes or whatever, and hopefully he doesn't. Obviously last week he did make a mistake, but he did do well after it. So I think he's a very good goalkeeper, McLaughlin, and he's playing now, so we support him and we want him to keep clean sheets. And
I know. I feel bad. I don't want people to think I'm slating him. I think he's a really good goalkeeper.
And you're no slating.
I don't know if I'm no. I mean, see when that goal went in last week, the first thing I said, McGregor would have saved that.
And I even sitting in the house listening to it, I don't know who the commentators were. I think they actually said the exact same thing. And I don't know. Probably you were thinking that as well, Charlie. That's the first thing that came to mind. I thought McGregor would if he was in goals, he would save that. It's just the experience, and you know, at that level, and like you think about tomorrow night, I could imagine us, it'll be wave after attack, you know, and it's about the concentration levels, and that's where the top keepers come into play. You know, you're not being involved, and then you need to pull out an important save, and that's why the Gorhams, and they used to do that all the time. McGregor has done it, you know, unbelievable saves, and that's why I think they're top notch. McLaughlin, very good goalkeeper, but as I say, 40 and 40's no for a keeper.
Nah.
You know,
but we have to give McLaughlin a chance. McLaughlin can make big saves as well. You know, we have to support him if he's obviously going to be
we are Charlie.
No, 100%. But we've got a big game tomorrow night. It's about the fans getting behind all the team. Everybody. Doesn't make any difference if it's McGregor or McLaughlin and goals. We just have to go and hopefully we can get the result and get us through.
It's like everybody out there. We've all got our opinions, you know. And for me, I would still go with McGregor.
I mean, it must be some feeling to walk out of that park in a European night, just with that atmosphere. Because I think it's one of the games that the fans sing for the full 90 minutes.
It's daunting when it's Juventus. They're all 6'5". Honestly, bloody massive human beings. That Nandrolone or whatever they were taking. I should have got something.
We've got to make them feel, and the Rangers supporters will do that tomorrow night. Make them feel uncomfortable. You know, right for the off, even in the warm up. You know, as you're saying, they'll be screaming and bawling, and it is an intimidating place. You know, so listen, we'll see how they handle it. You know, they've enjoyed themselves. You know, they took the plaudits. They've beat us 2-0. You know, fair and square. Well, it's going to be a different game tomorrow night. You know, you're on our turf, in our backyard, and let's see how you handle it.
Do you know, everybody's agreeing what you guys are saying here. Stevie C saying they'll sit in and they'll be better, far better at it than Killie are sitting in. So we need to. Obviously, we even struggled to break them down at the weekend, you know, so he's saying it needs to be an attack, fast and relentless.
And I think that's what we're going to face most of this season. And you know, teams come to eyebrows, Charlie.
100%. And then when they do attack us, we have to make sure we're quick in the counter. We definitely have to make sure, because they're obviously going to break us. It's about us stopping them, their break, and us nipping that in the bud, and then bang, we can counter.
And that's how we need the players. We need the Kents, Tillman. Maybe, I know there's a lot of debate as well about who's going to start up top. Morelos, he's been out a long time. I would just like to see maybe him being introduced in the second half, you know, or even play a half.
He start. If he starts, it's madness, because although we want to get through tomorrow night, we've got a whole season ahead of us, you know. We really need him fresh and fit. We don't need him picking up a niggle injury tomorrow night, you know what I mean? I don't think it's we obviously want him playing, but it's not the right occasion. It's not the right time after half an hour back against Kilmarnock to play tomorrow night.
But we've got enough in terms of, you look at Tillman, we've got Kent, Lawrence as well. You know, they're clever football players. They can see that wee clever pass, that cute pass, and that's all it takes tomorrow night. You know, and sometimes, we might need that wee bit of luck as well. You know, a wee deflection.
A couple of penalties.
But
I would take him,
But, you know, hopefully it's going to even itself out. You know, again, we might get a decision like that. But sometimes, and I was saying the first game against Livingston, I was a wee bit critical because we overpassed, we overplayed. And sometimes don't look for that perfect ball. You know, just go for the hit. Look at Lawrence's shot on Saturday. You know, just touch and hit.
We need more of that.
Aye, you know, just something like that. You know, out of the blue. You know,
I think tomorrow night will go with a tried and tested. Although Morelos won't start, I don't think. I think Arfield will play. Kent will play, even though Kent's been out for a few weeks, but I think Kent will play, and I think Davis will play tomorrow.
See what you've just said there about we've got to be careful with the counter attack. That's how I think you need a Steve Davis, because he'd be alive to that situation. You know, you can see him in there pulling the strings, just sitting off it, and if they were to break away, I think you've got guys like Davis. He just reads the game so well, so he does.
I think tomorrow night it goes. McLaughlin and goals, because it looks as if he's number one. Then Tav and obviously Golson. I think Davis will start tomorrow night, and I think Barisic will start. I have no doubt about that.
I'd like to see us go back to a back four.
Aye. Especially for tomorrow night. Do you know, there's a few guys in here, they must have been watching last week and listening to all my good comments. Stevie C saying everything is far too predictable. We need to wake up sharpish. And then who's this? Muchas gracias is saying, evening lads, enjoyed last week, keep it up. Who can Gio pick to ensure Rangers play front foot, dynamic football instead of this mundane side-to-side predictable stuff?
I think we're talking, obviously that was Kamara and Jack were playing in that role in the middle of the park, and sometimes you get caught in a certain way that because you're away from home you want to be safe, you know. But what we had over in Belgium, when you've got a Tillman, Matondo, you know, we talk about Sholak, never get the service. They boys, Matondo, never get any service, and I think we were a wee bit too safe for my liking at times. But we can't be safe tomorrow, and we'll not be safe. So that's what I'm saying. If you get Davis in there, I believe Davis, Lundstrom for me. Ahead of that, I would go with a Tillman. Tillman central. I would go with Lawrence.
Arfield has to start for me. Arfield goes beyond. He has to start. It goes beyond for midfield. He's something different. I think he has to, it goes beyond into the box. He gets into great positions, and that's what we're going to need tomorrow. We're going to need someone breaking the lines from midfield. Breaking the lines. It's a stupid saying, but we have to have somebody running deep, going into the box and going beyond. That's what we really need.
Aye.
So I think Arfield has to start tomorrow.
Right. I mean, see if Kent's just back, would you start him or would you bring him on as a sub?
It's a shadow of doubt.
He's only been what, 10 days or something.
He's only a week to 10 days. He's fit as a fiddle. The boy's picked up an ankle injury. You know, he's back training, so it's healed. And the wee rest. I know you said a rest. It's only like, you know, we're into 2 or 3 games a season, but that wee break, he'll be desperate to get out there. Kent for me's got to start.
I mean, there's Grant McDuff saying Kent was missed badly last week. Don't think we have enough to overcome this. Seems to happen against these teams we are meant to beat. You need to get a wee bit of positivity in his life, don't you? Come on, Grant, we're going to win this.
And you know something? It's going to be tough. It's going to be nervy. But listen, this is why we need the punters, you know, right behind the boys. And listen, if it does get a wee bit frustrating, you know, keep with us. You know, because when you hear the moans sometimes and the groans, and it's natural, we're all like that. You know, we obviously we want an early goal, but if it doesn't come, stick with us, you know, and we've got to keep at it and keep at it. It's European football.
See, when we've got the Champions League qualifiers early in the season, I don't understand why we don't just play the team that's going to start that game and see a lot of the pre-season friendlies. Start them in the game for 70, 80 minutes, start the team that's going to start in that game. Then they start the first league game, and then they've got more minutes in their legs, and then they'll be sharper, they'll be fitter, and I think if you do that, you'll get better results in Europe than we do, because later on in the season, obviously we're the Europa League last season. Later on in the season, we get some great results, but that was obviously because the boys had playing together, and obviously working and things together. So I think if you've just got your kind of 12, 14 bodies that you think are going to start that game, you play them most of the pre-season games and then let the other ones play.
I agree with what Charlie's saying there, but I just think we've all been guilty of this. We've kind of looked past Union. We thought it was a gimme, you know, so it's been a wee bit, it's more than a wee bit of a fright, you know, so we've got a lot of work to do tomorrow night, and the boys have got to, they've got to be at it. You know, it might go to extra time again, but we've proven, you know, last season, you know, was it Leipzig, Braga, you know, where that was with a goal done. So we're capable, but I'm going to repeat myself, but we need the punters to make it.
And the decent thing is as well, the away goal doesn't count.
Aye.
Which is
big difference, isn't it?
Aye, it's good for us obviously because we didn't get one earlier anyway, but it's a bonus that the away goal doesn't kill us, because it's counted a lot other years, like Sparta Prague and things like that.
Right. Do you know, I really like your idea, Charlie, about like the pre-season kind of thing, you know, getting your main team in, because I think
it's too important.
Well, what Rangers tend to do is, like, the second half, like, they'll put on their real first team in the first half, and in the second half they'll put on the players they're trying to get rid of, basically, just as a short window, you know. And
if people are going to buy them, not just because
I'm thinking
a second half against.
No, I mean, think all these other European teams have got about 3 or 4 games ahead of us, and it makes a difference, doesn't it? Because I was just thinking, we've got something like 6. I think we've got 5 or 6 more fixtures until we're up against Celtic, you know, and that, I think we'll be ready.
You're ready looking at Celtic game.
It's terrible.
I know.
I've not actually I don't really watch them, you know, so I don't actually know how they're playing. But as you always say, we just look after Rangers and
that's it. Look after
yourself.
You know?
But let's move on to Killie. And by the way, we get loads of questions, and it's not just questions. There's people saying they were at a couple of your speakers nights a few weeks ago as well.
They're the ones that were throwing things at me.
I'll be hearing all the stories, you know. So there's Edward Miller, having a listen, Ricki, used to be pals with Charlie's old man, Alec Patrick, who ran a Rangers boys club.
Well, it wasn't my old man, but he was a close second. My wee mate, well, Wally Patrick, I was in Seville with actually. His son, Alec, passed away a few years ago, sadly. He was a great man, loved him to bits. But Wally's his son, but I was a close second, I think.
Aye.
Wally will say that probably first, straight enough.
Sorry, I'm just reading all these questions coming in. We're going to move on to the Killie game. Thoughts on that? Because first 15 minutes I thought it was not too bad, but then we just, that's what I'm saying, Tillman was looking good first 15, 20 minutes. And then the defence is looking rather ropey, sloppy sort of, just silly mistakes.
Well, his pal is no bad at organising a side, isn't he? We're talking about Derek McInnes.
His twin.
He's been there, he's done it. That's why he's a good manager. And even listening to McInnes, and he says, I make no apologies. I go there with a game plan, try and deny Rangers. Might not make it for a good spectacle, but I always thought it was going to be difficult, and that's what we'll be up against tomorrow night. But that's what Killie did, And again, you look at it, man for man. It would be silly and crazy to come out against Rangers, but this is why we need these flair players, these guys that can make a difference, because to unlock a defence. Me myself, Charlie, going back when I obviously left Rangers, not so much going back with Hearts, but when I went back with Falkirk and Dunfermline, you knew it was going to be backs to the wall. You were going to be it was a game of running for 90 minutes. And that's what sometimes you've just got to do when you go to, it's murder.
It was like when I was at Dundee United, and if you're going to Ibrox or Parkhead and you're trying to defend for Maystay and try to hit them in the counter-attack, and then they score after 5 minutes and the music's gone, you're like, oh no. It was horrible, man.
And that's when you knew you were just in for a game of running, because once, Rangers at home get their noses in front, and it's difficult, but that's why it was, we need these players, we need the show action. It was brilliant that he gets his goal, but if you look at the game, and I've caught most of the highlights, but for me, the one guy that stands out, I spoke about him, Steve Davis. You look at the second goal, Morelos comes onto the park, but you look at that wee bit of play in the middle of the park, Davis just senses the guy's going to miscontrol it, he gets to him quickly, and then it's just the way to pass, we're in, Tondo, then obviously Morelos at the back post. So, but that's why you need your good players on the park.
Aye.
When you're under a wee bit of pressure. And
I think with Davis, it's his style and his kind of his way, the way he plays, and it's his experience. He knows when he needs to run, and he knows when he can take a breather and all that kind of thing. Because he's 37, 38 or something.
He dictates the play really well. He can control the game, and then bang, he's got one of these passes that goes between the midfield into the striker, and then they're away. He can turn and then bang wide, hopefully whip it in, and then there's a goal. But he knows when to pass forward, when not to pass forward, and I think that's the difference from Kamara. Used to play the ball forward a lot, and he's became. I liked Kamara. I thought he was probably a couple of years ago. He was probably the best midfielder in Scotland.
That's right.
He was very good, and he's just not the same player, because he used to beat people. He used to take players on, and then bang, he was away from him, and it's not the same. We need somebody.
Do you think he's getting told to hang back, but?
Or do you think he's playing within himself?
I think he is. I think
that's exactly, but that's the same feeling I get what Charlie's touching on. And I don't know if there's interest that, again, we're not privy to, but it just seems to me he's just playing within himself. Yeah. So, but going back to Saturday, Cholak, that was brilliant, because he needs a goal. He's been getting a little bit of criticism, I think unfairly so, because it does take you time to settle.
See, it does take you time to settle 100%, but you've got to do more. See, when because he is a decent player, he is a good player actually, but you still want to do more. If a service is to come, you go and look for it, you go and want the ball more, you know what I mean? Make sure the guys are getting you the ball instead of passing it sideways or whatever, but you've got to demand it more.
See, I don't think he's that type of player, and just watching him. And by the way, listen, hey, a certain Alan McCoy, a certain Mark Catley, they didn't hit the ground running. It took them you look back, it took them a wee bit of time to settle. So, and it's like everything you want it now, and sometimes you go to kind of train yourself to just be a wee bit more patient, So I think I think he will be a good goal scorer for us. But I don't think, Charlie, he is that. He's not a Morelos.
Well, look at the amount of times we've done a Q&A with Mark Killie. And you ask him, you know, who did you prefer playing with? Was it Mo Johnstone or Alan McCoist? He's always says McCoist because he always knew he'd be there.
Because Coisty was clever.
Maybe Cholak needs that, maybe.
Fair, Mo Johnson was a very good player as well.
I will not talk about him.
No, but I'm just saying
He
that.
was a great player, but Big Mark does always say that he was preferred to play with Coisty.
But the two of them took time to settle, didn't they?
Oh, aye.
Remember?
Well, the most recent one that took time to settle was Lundstrom.
That's another great. Bassey as well, great example. Before they hit the ground running. So Lundstrom, that's a great example. So about 4 or 5 months, wasn't it?
Well, there's David Morrison who's basically saying Lundstrom needs to be in the middle and let Davis dictate the game, you know, so...
Aye, I'd like to see the two of them in there together, you know, and just because Charlie mentioned it earlier, because we've just got to be careful with the counter-attack, and I think that's where Davis comes into play. Aye, he'll dictate things, but if they're going to cause us a few problems, going to be dangerous, I think he's just the type that just snuffs it out. He's clever enough, he reads the game brilliantly.
Charlie, how good was it to have Morelos back?
Oh, it's magic, isn't it? And it looks like he's got to sign a contract now as well, so which is even better news. It's just good to see the wee man on the pitch, because you know what you're going to get from him. You're going to get fight, you're going to get goals, you're going to get work rate, and that's very good to have him.
Do you know what I noticed about yesterday? He was getting in, or Saturday, he was getting in the positions. You know, but he's no got that match fitness, because I mean it was last. Did you say it was last March?
March Dundee game, wasn't it?
So that's a long time. But he was getting in positions, and he just missing that wee bit of match fitness to like knock it in. But normally we'd have just took it.
And see, when he has match fit, match sharp, he's a handful for anybody. I mean, you tell me any centre back or any defenders that like playing against him, because he loves that. He loves getting in about them, but he just loves scoring goals, doesn't he? You know,
He's a guy.
What do you think he's blonde hair? Gaza.
I know. It's brilliant, aye.
Ricki wants something, so does
Aye, so
Derry.
I know.
To be fair, but
Hair's overrated.
I don't think Alfredo knows what he's doing sometimes. So it's that's
What was
hard.
here?
Yeah, definitely. No, but so I think it's hard for defenders to know what he's got to do, because 1 minute the ball can bounce away 20 yards for him. Next minute he can take a touch and put it in the top corner. You're like, bloody hell, I suppose he's mental.
Do you want to notice, brilliant? See when Cholak scored and then they all ran away to the corner, and you see him, he's out obviously warming up, and you don't often see him smile, but he was smiling away. I think he's just happy he's back. And so if you've got a happy, fit Morelos, you've got one hell of a player, that's for sure. And by the way, it's just brilliant. I don't think we should start him. You know, I just think being out for that length of time. But if we're needing a goal, get into the second half, he introduced him. I'll get the place absolutely bouncing. So good, wasn't it?
I'm getting butterflies already for tomorrow. Right, before we go into St Johnstone game, I'm going to read out some more questions. Here's a big jig. Good to have you guys back. What's the thoughts on Ben Davies signing a player who isn't fit at $4 million? Is it not a massive gamble? We don't know what we're going to get from him.
Stuart McCall spoke highly.
Right.
Stuart McCall had them last year at Sheffield United on loan for Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
And Stuart spoke highly of him. He was a good player, technically very good, reads the game very well, good in the air, and he's quite quick as well. Right.
And if you pay $4 million, you know, obviously if he's fit, he gets straight into that side, and that's what I'm desperate to see, a settled back four or back five. So if McLaughlin is going to be the keeper, right, we're number one. Yep, happy with that. You know, my preference is McGregor, but I like to see a settled back four. So whether it's going to be Barisic or Yilmaz,
for me, it's still got to be Barisic, you know.
I like Barisic, but he gets slated so much if he does one wee thing wrong.
But he takes it. It doesn't take it well.
Nah.
For me, I actually should have loaned us back Bassey.
He gets sent off in his first game.
That's the
anyway,
best shout of the night. So Barisic frustrates me at times. Listen, he's different class going forward, delivery, but defensively at times he was caught out a couple of times last Tuesday night. Sometimes there's a wee question mark for me about his mentality, you know, in terms of the big games. But I think he's fine at home. You know, with
I think his quality in the game in more nights, we really need it.
Because we'll be on the front foot, you know, and we need that delivery.
Wide areas, his delivery's second to none, and also his set pieces and things like that. So I think he's got to play. And plus he's more experienced than the young Maz.
So here's a wee question from Adam Wilson. Do you think Lowry needs more game time? He's got a fear that we're going to lose him due to lack of games, or do we need to loan him out? I think he's actually injured.
He's
now,
injured
isn't he?
just now, I think.
Nah,
He
but
is
he's a terrific talent. Somebody that's got real belief about himself. You know, he probably believes he should be in that, if he's fit, in that Rangers side. But the thing is, at that age, and once he's had a taste of it, he needs to be playing.
Oh, 100%.
So
you want to play. It's simple. We've been there, and you don't want to be sitting on the bench. Or
No.
What's it like, Charlie? See when you've been had a good 3 or 4 games and you just get dropped for no reason. What's that like sitting on the bench? Especially for a young boy like that, you know.
Well, it's difficult. It is, because then you feel as if a man doesn't trust you. I would imagine that's the way he feels. Even though he technically very good, and I think they'd have put him through a decent pre-season and try to bulk him up a little bit. Not too much, because you don't want him to lose his turn of pace and whatever. But I think they'd have made him a bit stronger, because he was a wee bit lightweight, but could play, and his goal against Hearts at the end of last season was lovely. And yeah, I think the wee man, he needs to get a chance. I think I personally wouldn't have signed so many kind of wide players, because he kind of plays wide, doesn't he? So, or he can plays in behind the front one. I think we don't really need people on loan. I think we're better actually giving our good younger ones a shot, you know. And
I mind, I think when we used to do the podcast, Derek, I mind asking you a question about what was it like when all these players, like especially all the English players, come in and some of them played in your position. But you actually liked it, didn't you?
Aye, that got me. That got the old juices flowing. Aye. You were up for it, but then we're kind of, I was going to say, I'll just call myself a daft wee Glasgow boy, but we liked that sort of thing. So it was like, right, okay, you're a top English international player, you know, and I'm talking about guys like Ray Wilkins.
I was just about to say that.
Oh,
Derek was playing in him and Durante and whatever, and then Souness would even play so, and then you've got Wilkins, you've got top English players coming in, there's some great European players like Mikhailchenko and things like that, and it makes you want. And in my first season, I enjoyed myself. I had a great season, and young player of the year, and I'm thinking, right, okay, and then he signs Gaza. I'm like, yeah, but no. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, look, what a player this guy is, but oh no.
But it's all about your mentality. You can either feel sorry for yourself, you know, and just go, it's not going to be, or else you go, right, I'm going to meet the challenge head on, and that's what the boy Lowry's got to do. But there comes at a point, for me, I think, that he needs to play, and there's a lot of guys in there at the moment. Charlie's just touching on some of the wide players, and you know, certainly Matondo, and you've got Tillman in there, you know, you've got Lawrence, you know, and I think Lawrence is a good player. So it's going to be really difficult for him. And I just think for his development, he needs to be playing.
See, Lawrence, he reminds me a wee bit of Ryan Jack as well. I don't know if it's his build and just his kind of way he plays, but there's similarities, I think, between the two of them.
You think so?
Aye, I don't know what it is. Like Lawrence and Ryan Jack, I think there's similarities between them.
Lawrence and Ryan Jack, totally different
I
players.
don't
Do
get
you?
that, aye.
Totally
Is he
different
okay?
players,
What have you been drinking tonight?
I'm just a host.
No, I said that because if you look at Jack's more
bleach in
kind
that.
of, he's somebody that just sits in his dog. He's got a wee bit more to his game, but Lawrence is a flair player. So he's on the final third. He's a guy you can see that killer pass. Right, I don't know what yours.
I'll retract that then, right?
Right.
My worry is though for Lowry, it might be that we've signed quantity rather than quality, and then he will get his chance, because if it is quantity rather than quality we've signed, then he's got to be better. As simple as that, and he's got to play. So,
ability wise, I think he's as good as any of the boys there in the forward positions. So, but it's when you've brought players, and obviously Gio has. You know, he's brought them with a view to playing them, and that's why the guys are at Rangers. You know, they want the taste of the European scene, playing European football, but they want to be playing, and I think that's why it's a shame for guys. Even the boy King, you know, Leon King. You know, I saw him a couple of times. Certainly watched him. It was against St Mirren. You know, and there's a player there. You know, but they've got to play.
Well, there's David Morrison saying that Lowry played 2 B games. He's just coming back from injury.
Right.
So he's probably about another 2 or 3 games away. Ryan Dunbar's saying, not a question, but can I just say I was at the Allington Miners a few weeks back and at a speakers night, and you two were there and said it was a very good night.
But the goalie was there.
Aye, we were there. We Andy and big Derek Johnstone, and Nobody could get a word in for Charlie.
Goals,
Charlie just took her.
No chance. I don't get a word in edgeways here. How am I going to get a word in edgeways at a gig?
I think DJ's over at Seen Nizzy.
I heard that. Aye, it was another holiday. So Nizzy's taking your Lanzarote, isn't he?
Sounds like he's doing really well with
so
that pub.
he's got his soccer school. He's got his pub. What is it? A terrace? Was it a terrace bar? Terrace bar. So he's.
We need to get him to get us over to do a podcast over there.
Now you're talking.
Okay, that'd be all right.
Any chance, Nizzy? Still never bought.
It's great to see Nizzy's healthy. You know, he's had a rough time over the last couple of years. You know, so it's great to see him. You know,
Nizzy's one of the funniest stories ever, wasn't it?
He's just.
So tell you the story of me. We were in Hong Kong.
No,
we're going down to Wan Chai, right? And there's me, Derek Ferguson, wee Billy Semple, and Nizzy in the back of the taxi, and Big Marvin's in the front. And Nizzy says, when everybody played at Ibrox, they all wore Adidas and Nike, and I wore Kangaroo, because every time I passed the ball, it came back to me. And there was a silence in the motor, and we're like, that's a boomerang, you dick.
He's a light one. Right.
Oh, he's a funny guy, he's funny.
I tell you how daft Nizzy is, or mental is. He's the only guy that I think that offered Graham Souness a square go. That's
Seriously, aye?
Oh, I was sitting beside him. I was like, I just looked at him. Says, "What you?"
Was you being serious? Aye.
Aye. Because I think the gaffer was
trying to get him to go to Dundee.
Nizzy was having none of it, and it got a wee bit heated. And then Nizzy, you know, although he's a bit happy, daft, and mad, he's got a different side of him as well. He could go anytime. Aye, and kind of the gaffer Souness, he kind of lit his fuse that day, and so I don't think it's the kind of wisest thing to offer your gaffer a square go out in the park.
Especially no Souness.
I know. Just think if Nizzy did go to Dundee, we'd never got that chip.
That's probably one of the flakiest European goals ever.
He still thinks he dinked the goalie.
Aye. That's some dink. There's Mitch's Gracias again. Hope Lowry gets a chance when he's fit. He's like a younger Ian Durant. First thought is go forward and how can I hurt this team? You know, so
yep, that's what you need.
Oh, I tell you what, going forward, but tell you what, wee Durant used to do. Wee Durant could do the defensive side. Yet again, brilliant. But he was a kind of same build as Lowry. There was nothing to Durant. But I tell you what, wee Durant used to get wired in, so he would do the dirty side of the game and then turn up, you know, in the box and stick one in the top corner. So Durant did all different things. He wasn't just a kind of a flair, forward-thinking player. He did the whole shebang.
That's the difference. You don't see many
all
players
round
gone beyond. See, in the modern day game, like Durant was brilliant at going beyond and a brilliant football player as in the game in general. But like see, David Platts, Arfield's probably the closest we've got that goes beyond. You don't see them anymore.
It's if they're trying, because they're all trying to do all the kind of one-touch football and all that.
The sorry stats they care about, but say don't give the ball away. I would never get a game though, because my pass was always trying to create a goal. That's what, and maybe 1 out of 10 we get through, and we might score 1, but that's the one you want. And now people are scared to give the ball away.
I know. We're nearly running out of time already. I can't believe how fast it goes. I'll do this last wee one for Stevie C. My own personal opinion is Lowry is better than Wright, Scott Wright. He's more belief in himself. That's evident from watching both play regularly last season and watching Wright this season so far. He says he's nothing against Scott, but he just thinks Lowry's a better player.
But listen, we're not here to criticise our players.
They're two good players. So
I think when you look at Wright, you know, you get him for 150,000, you know, and he's a good player, and even coming off the bench, you know, he can have an impact in the game. I like his attitude again, but we're talking about Lowry. Lowry's a fantastic young player, but he needs a run of games, but it's going to be so difficult for him to break into.
I just keep on waiting for Wright to explode into a right good player. I'm just waiting for him to go bang, and then play every game and be brilliant, because there's a player there, but sometimes you don't understand some of the things he does in the game, or maybe he needs a run of games as well.
Sometimes trying too hard, that can happen as well.
I think he needs to be a bit more direct and trying to get in the box. You know, he still keeps on running down the wings as well. You know, but see when you're running at a defence with that speed, and you're going into that box.
I don't know. I couldn't run that quick, anyways. I wouldn't know.
Listen to me. Can't even walk that fast. Anyway, right. Quick thoughts on St Johnstone.
well,
Very quick.
Aye, they've got a good result at the weekend. They needed it. You know, St Johnstone, St Mirren, I think it was going to be a long, hard season for them. But when we go up against them, again, Callum Davis inside, you know, will be defensive. They'll sit in and they'll hope to get set pieces and that, you know, to try and kind of hurt us. But it's one of the games, it'll be 80% possession for us. And again, it'll come down to, are we cute enough, are we clever enough, you know, in that final third. But I think we will be, you know, because you keep battling at the door, you know, and as Rangers will be.
It'll be stuffy, it'll be horrible, the pitch won't be wet, but at least it's no all patchy because it's the first couple of games of the season. And you want the pitch wet, but it's going to be a nice week this week as well, so it'll be dry pitch probably. Aye. And it'll be a bit sticky and whatever, but they'll be stuffy, they'll be defending deep as usual. And then, as Derek says, they'll be trying to get set pieces to cause problems for that.
Right, we'll just go quickly on to predictions then, that's us. Our predictions were useless last week, by the way, terrible. I don't even want to predict tomorrow night.
I know, I just get through the tie, even if it goes to extra time. I don't care how we do it.
In fact, that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say 2-0 and then into extra time.
Aye, just get there.
I'm going 4-0.
Aye.
Oh. Somebody breaking in. No, but it's going to be nervy. The punters just.
The fans get behind the team. There's a goal up right away.
Aye. Even I would actually take a goal in each half and then even take the extra time because the energy that we'll have with the fans will carry us through.
Aye. Charlie, you 4-0?
4-0.
4-0.
Maybe 5. I'm telling you, I think we'll get him a doing tomorrow.
Aye.
Because I think the boys will be up for it.
Definitely. Well, I hope so. After what they've been saying about us as well. And then St Johnstone.
Again, they're going to make it hard, as are a lot of teams this season, you know. But they're fighting for even at this early stage. It showed how much it meant to them to win against Motherwell. So they'll just sit in. But I think it'll be comfortable. It'll be a 2 or 3-0.
I'm just waiting for the team to explode and start playing.
Rattle somebody.
Teams, and I'm going to go 3-0.
I'm going to go 2. I'll go 2.
Aye, that's what I was kind of thinking. Yeah, I would even take. Do you know, just get victories under our belt, progress, get a wee bit more confidence about us, you know. And you've installed that in my head right away. You know, about 6 games to be play Celtic.
Aye,
is it right? Aye.
September.
I'm already thinking about it.
September the 3rd. So.
Anyway,
that's the day after September the 2nd, Derek.
Is that right? Aye.
Anyway,
obviously.
That's us, finished already. Again, second
this
episode.
Going too quick, guy.
And you know, after the first week, we ended up number 11 in the UK charts for a football podcast. That is really good. Well, considering it was our first ever podcast, so we're up against.
You're all tuning in for Charlie. It's all the ladies, isn't it?
All the ladies.
Charlie, they don't
Aye. Aye, it was the audio podcast that was number 11, but. But that's brilliant, and thanks for everybody for watching and subscribing to us. We've now got like 1,700 subscribers on YouTube as well after the first week, so please keep on subscribing and hitting the notification button and everything, and we'll see you again next week. All right, take care, guys.